Mm, Education system is fucked up, right? It's been more than 100 or years that it has remained the same. It has not changed at all. Whatever people learned 100 years back, yes, we have made some advancement since then, but the core thing which we are learning is still the same. That doesn't mean that these things are not needed. I'll get to that point later. But yeah, so take if I take my example itself, I have learned 8-year-old syllabus than what my sister has learned. That means my sister and I are 8 years apart, and she has learned the new stuff than I am during my undergrad. It was weird, but it is what it is. I'll get to what I learned and how I learned as well, because during my undergrad we hardly had any classes going on. The college was, it was basically for a namesake purpose, and most of the time I used to be online and learn most of the stuff. So I'll get in deep with that later on. But yeah, the main core idea of these education systems are deep rooted in the school systems, right? And what happens in the school? We only learn about facts, we don't learn about anything else. There's no practicality as such. I'm not saying that we have to have practicality in everything, but at least we need to encourage that. Say, for example, if there is, when I was in school, we used to learn 3 languages and 3 subjects separately. So the 3 primary languages were English, my regional language, and my national language. So these 3 we were learning. On top of that, we were learning the social science, and then we were learning mathematics. In total, 6 subjects we were learning. In that, if I have to take science for example, I would have much more appreciated if it was more of a practical than just the theory and learning of facts. The only thing which we did in our school days was memorization of these facts, and in the exams as well, we poured to do just that. I mean, it was just a memory test rather than the test of the actual intelligence, whatever the exam that is currently going on. So that is what I want to encourage in the schools. One more thing is, I recall Einstein's quote. I'm not sure if Einstein told it or any other, but I read this quote. The purpose of school is not to just learn the facts, but it's the training of mind to think. If a teacher or its education system or any of the thing has made a kid to question, to think, then that education system has won. That was certainly not the case in our education system, because whenever someone asked a question, everyone used to laugh. How dumb are you? Right? Everyone used to make fun of that guy, whoever asked a silly, it might be a silly question, but he had the guts to ask that question because he did not understand what the teacher was saying. But we grew up in an environment where we made fun of him, and that reflected later on in our life. We started to not question ourselves and just accept the things as they are because of that. If you are well educated, if you are truly intelligent, it's not that you know more answers, it's just that you ask more questions. Why is it happening like this? Why the stars twinkle, or why certain stars don't twinkle? These are some of the very trivial questions, but yet it signifies the importance of asking the questions. It's not about the quality of the questions. Yes, at certain point you have to ask the quality questions, but you have to start somewhere, right? But in school it doesn't happen. It's only the memorization of the facts, and whoever has the best memory, they will win. They will be, victorious. They will be celebrated. They will be praised. They will do whatever. I don't care, because I was never a rank student or any of those things. I was just an average kid. I never really excelled in all those things, but there were certain things which I loved. I loved mathematics. I loved solving the problems. I loved science. These are the 2 subjects which I adored a lot. And I did studies of my own, not when I was very small, but when I was of decent age, right? maybe in the teenage years. I used to explore some other stuff. I got hooked into Albert Einstein's theory. I got hooked into Isaac Newton's, and I loved reading about their biography. How did they come up with, what was their environment, how were they when they were growing up, and what triggered them to have this idea that revolutionized the world. But yeah, certain educational stuff that they teach in the schools, it might not be that much relevant when you become an adult, right? Most of the things you actually never use. But I'm going to argue that they were the stepping stones for you to be where you are right now. The education or the society is structured in such a way that you have to climb up one ladder in order for you to be able to reach the other ladder which is far away. You can't climb on only one ladder for eternity. You have to climb one ladder, and whoever does the fastest, whoever does the best job in climbing that one will be able to reach the next ladder, or will be able to choose a better ladder down the line. That's the kind of educational system that we have. And certainly whatever the things that you learned, yes, they may not be useful, because you will not be asked to calculate the variable of x in your entire rest of the life when you become adult, right? Whatever the mathematical stuff that you learned, no one will ask you to calculate the sine theta or cos theta or draw a graph or any of the things. But they were necessary at the time that you were doing, because the society was structured in such a way that you have to do this in order for you to climb to the next one, right? But yeah, if when you become adult, you choose that field of mathematics to become a mathematical lecturer or a researcher or any of the things, those basic knowledge were necessary. But for most 80% of the kids who do that, they are not necessary. And this should have changed in the past 20 years is what I want to argue with. It should have changed because the technology has boomed a lot. The programming languages have boomed a lot, and we are seeing more and more engineers coming out than any other field. So it is high time that we teach these kinds of things which are happening in our current world right now and adapt to it, rather than still stick to the thing which have been working for a long time. Yes, I know that what has been working for a long time is tried and tested method, but for how long is the question that I want to ask. But yeah, is it a waste? Obviously not. It is not a waste. You will be able to use it some point in your life, maybe not every single day, but once or twice you might be able to use the stuff that you learned in the school if you did not choose the career path that it laid down. Then coming to the purpose of school, right? Schools, I don't have to talk about the money that the school is extorting out of the parents. My sister's kids are going to school, and they are not even, the first standard, or they're still in kindergarten, maybe upper kindergarten, I don't know. But what do they call these nowadays? We used to call it UKG, LKG and stuff like that, upper kindergarten, lower kindergarten. I'm not sure what they're called nowadays, but they are at that stage, and the fees is like 1.5 lakhs or 2 lakhs. Yes, they live in a tier 1 city, but still that's a lot of price to pay for just 1 year of education. And it's not like they're going to teach them the rocket science when they are small, because you can't teach them a lot. They are still absorbing the world, and they want to learn the basics. They're just learning the basics of ABCD, and for that you have to pay 1.5 to 2 lakhs is a lot of money. I'm just talking about that. I'm just talking about that, right? But as you grow, the inflation rate is going to shoot up, and these educational prices will be a lot more. Thankfully, I got into a government college for my undergrad, and the fees was nearly 24,000 per year. So within 1 lakh, whatever my sister is paying for her kid for the kindergarten, I have paid for 4 years of education Not that they provided me of anything, but yet I was able to get a certification for 4 years of my undergrad because the thing was very cheap. But I have heard friends who have paid lakhs together for the fees, upwards towards 10 lakhs. That's a lot of money, right? That's indeed a lot of money. And that's for just undergrad, and you have to go through 10 years of education plus 2 years of high schools, then university, pre-university, then you have to go to university. Then if you decide to do even more studies, the educational burden, that the financial educational burden that you have built up, will that be worth it? Because all you will be doing for the next 5 to 6 years will be just paying off the debt that you have accumulated for the past years of getting the education, and then once that debt is gone, you are going to be able to live your life the way you want. For me, that just doesn't make sense, right? That doesn't mean that you don't need education. You need the education system that is currently present, because we can't deny it. We don't know the better way of doing certain things, but we can improve in some of the aspects that we can, right? But yeah, for me, school was not about education. School, if anyone listening to this is in a school, I'm going to say this. School is not about education. School is about making friends and being disciplined. Because you're going to wear the same clothes every single day. You will not have that discrimination. You will not know what that other person is, or what their financial status is, what their, background is, family background is. You just accept the person for the person himself, and you become friends with him, and you be disciplined. You play games, you just hang out, have fun, make new friends. That's the sole purpose of school, is what I want to emphasize on. Because yes, 20 years back, if you had told me education was the important thing, I would have said yes, for sure, I'm going to agree on you. But today, if you're going to say that education is important over all the other things, I'm going to deny that, because education is very, easily accessible in everyone's pocket right now. You can learn about any stuff in the world for free. Yes, it might not be that much organized as what the school has presented you with, but it will be much more cheaper, much more accessible, and you have the freedom to learn what you want. For a certain period of time, I was in a belief that the children should be given freedom to choose what they want to learn from small itself. But I couldn't be more wrong. I thought about it a lot of time, and I was like, okay, the kids will not be able to make decision of their own. Maybe nowadays kids might be, but when I was a kid, I certainly did not make those decisions. It was very hard for me. Everyone else made decision for me, and I just went along with it. But when I was in early or late teenage years, maybe that time is the best time for people to actually induce, and society also encourages that. But the safest path is always the best path, and everyone does whatever the herd of sheep does, right? Everyone will go behind that, because I wanted to, if I am honestly, I'm going to tell you, but I wanted to study astrophysics. I wanted to be a physicist when I grow up. But my environment did not support it. Everyone around me were going for engineering, and everyone were doing the IT stuff, and everyone were telling IT has the best job and it's going to be more relevant when you grow up. And I was like, okay, fine, man. I did not have the opportunity to do the astrophysics stuff. I still do. Somewhere deep down in my bones, it is there. I want to do this astrophysics someday. I want to dive deep into this stuff. But yeah, we get peer pressured most of the time. At least that is how it was for me. I'm not sure, the person you are listening, it might be relatable for you, but for me it was. Yeah, coming to the undergrad, I never actually learned anything in my undergrad, right? I told at the beginning. The education system was fucked up for me for the undergrad, because we were having very old syllabus, and it was very hard to find the textbook that whatever the exam they asked the question, it was very difficult for us to find the answers for it, because it was nowhere to be found. And they also relied on those things. Instead of inventing new questions, they just relied on the previously asked questions in papers and just copy pasted them. which was a good thing in one perspective, but it was very bad. But we did not stop there. Me and my friends, we actually studied outside of it, thanks YouTube. If YouTube was not there, I'm not sure what would have happened to us. And I learned everything in YouTube. A lot of people had free stuff available, and we just consumed, learned from YouTube. That's all. The 4 years of education, what I did is education on YouTube rather than in my undergrad college. That college is 100 years old, more than 100 years old, so kudos to that. But yeah, I have just spoken ill about this education system, and that is not right, this is not right. So what exactly do I want to change? What needs to be changed? As I told, if I was in a power to bring some changes into the education system, this is what I would do. I would add more of the practical stuff. We will sit around with teachers with great minds of this period and come up with a way that, okay, what will be a very practical thing for this kid, for these specific kids who are of different scenarios, and what will be the practical stuff that might excite them to pursue in that career, right? One might become a mathematician, one might become a scientist, one might become an engineer, doctor. There are so many, heck, even a YouTuber. There is no harm in doing what you love to do, right? And the environment should be encouraged to do such that, and we have to encourage that as well. I'm gonna say, every kid who is there, you should start your own YouTube channel. Maybe we have to teach them how to be disciplined and how to be rational about it, rather than going on screaming, cursing, becoming egotistical and stuff like that. Rather than that, I want more of practicality stuff to happen. And yeah, we have to teach more about how actual society works, how the money works, how people work in the society, what happens when you actually go out into this world after your education systems are concluded, what you will expect. That needs to be taught, and we have to encourage in the schools itself for kids to make a living, even though they might be well off, they might be the son of an Elon Musk or whatever it may be. We have to have systems in the schools to encourage them to learn more, earn more money while they were learning. And yeah, since AI is becoming a boom and it will become a part and parcel of our life, that needs to be included in the education system as well, but not too much. I'm going to tell you why. Take calculator for example. In our schools, they encourage not to use the calculators for examinations and stuff like that. You have to do it on your own. Why? If you rely solely on calculators, you will not be able to think on your own. You'll not be able to, use your mind a lot, because that processing power, you are just outsourcing it to someone else. And the exact same thing is happening for the AI stuff. You can solve the things, because I know a lot of problems that I'm doing right now. I mean, fixing in my startup and all those stuff. I'm doing a lot of problem solving. I know that I can do those, I can solve those problems on my own just by doing some research, understanding the basics of it, and just like that. But I immediately go on to ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude to just type it out my problem, give the context, and it's going to give me a solution, and the solution works 90% of the time. I don't have to do much of a thing. And what is happening in this process is I'm using my brain less and less, which hinders the growth eventually. So AI should be there, but it should not be to an extent where you will stop using your brain, because the moment you stop using your brain, you start losing yourself. That's all. But yeah, and as I told, my circumstances are different. In the previous video, I spoke about what exactly am I doing in my current situation. We talked about money in the last video, and this time we are talking about education. So I had a thing where I wanted to do MBA and I wanted to do MTech. When I wanted to have those stuff. But when I realized all the things which I spoke about for the past 20 minutes, when I just thought about all this stuff, and it was not at all worth it. Yes, I might get a higher pay grade, but I will be in a debt, and to clear that debt, I'm going to take a lot of time. If the MBA or MTech, whatever I'm going to do, came at a cheaper cost, came at a cost where it was affordable, where I could pay off the debt in just 1 year, maybe I would have pursued it. Because again, as I told, the mere reason of education or mere reason of the schools is not to learn about facts or any of the stuff. It's about networking and being disciplined, and I wanted to have that. I wanted to meet some people who are, yeah, I lost the train of thought. I had someone came and disturb me when I was doing this, but that's what I was saying, right? MBA and all those stuff, if it was affordable, if I could pay off the debt in just 1 year, I'm all in for doing it because I want to network with people, I want to meet new people. So yeah, is it worth it? Absolutely, if the money is worth it. But if the money is substantial compared to what I'm getting out of it, it never makes sense to pursue it, because you can always learn it by actually practically doing it rather than going to the colleges or schools. Okay, I think I spoke about a lot of stuff, and if I have to leave some final thoughts for the whoever is watching this or for future me, never stop learning. You have so much thing to know about this world, and learn as much as possible and never stop learning ever. You can take a break, maybe it's 1 year, maybe 2 years, but keep your brain engaged. Keep learning new things every single day. That's all I wanted to say about education, and yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow, maybe, hopefully. So bye.